The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 6, Section 4, Epistles. 65. 54 West, 33 New York, 7th May 1895. Dear Mrs. Bull, I had a newspaper from India with the publication in it of Dr. Borrow's short reply to the thanks sent over from India. Miss Thursby will send it to you. Yesterday I received another letter from India from the President of Madras meeting to thank the Americans and to send me an address. This gentleman is a chief citizen of Madras and a judge of a Supreme Court, a very high position in India. I am going to have two public lectures more in New York in the upper hall of the Moto Memorial Building. The first one will be on Monday next on the science of religion. The next on the rationale of yoga. As Miss Hamlin sent you the book on the financial condition of India, I wish your brother will read it and then find out for himself what the English rule in India means. Ever gratefully, your son Vivekanand. 66. 54 West, 33 Street, New York, May 1895, Thursday. Dear Mrs. Bull, the classes are going on, but I am sorry to say, though the attendance is large, it does not even pay enough to cover the rent. I will try this week and then give up. I am going this summer to the Thousand Island to Miss Dutchers, one of my students. The different books on Vedant are now being sent over to me from India. I expect to write a book in English on Vedant philosophy in its three stages. What I am at Thousand Island, when I am at Thousand Island, and I may go to Greenacre later on. Miss Farmer wants me to lecture there this summer. I am rather busy just now in writing a promised article for the Press Association on immortality. Yours, Vivekanand. 67. Percy, New Hampshire, 7th June 1895. Dear Mrs. Bull, I am here at least with Mr. Leggett. This is one of the most beautiful spots I have ever seen. Imagine a lake surrounded with the hills, covered with a huge forest, with nobody but ourselves. So lovely, so quiet, so restful. And you may imagine how glad I am to be here after the best bustle of the cities. It gives me a new lease of life to be here. I go into the forest alone and read my Gita and am quite happy. I will leave this place in about 10 days and go to the Thousand Island Park. I will meditate by the hour there and be all alone to myself. The very idea is ennobling. Vivekanand. 68. 54 West 33rd Street, New York, June 1895. Dear Mrs. Bull, I have just arrived home. The trip did me good, and I enjoyed the country and the hills, and especially Mr. Meggett's country house in New York State. Poor Lesberger, poor poor Landsberg has gone from this house. Neither has he left one his address. May the Lord bless Landsberger wherever he goes. He is one of few sincere souls I have had the privilege in this life to come across. All is for good. All conjunctions are for subsequent disjunctions. I hope I shall be perfectly able to work alone. The less help from men, the more from the Lord. Just now I received a letter from the Englishman in London who had lived in India in Himalayas with two of my brethren. He asked me to come to London. Yours, Vivekanand. 68, 1895. Dear Shashi, I am quite in agreement with what Sharada is doing, but it is not necessary to preach Ramakrishna Paramhamsa was an incarnation and things of that sort. He came to do good to the world, not to trumpet his own name. You must always remember this. Disciples pay their whole attention to the preservation of their master's name and throw out overboard his teachings and sectarian, sectarianism, etc. Are the results. Alasinga writes of Charu, but I do not recollect him. Write all about him and convey him my thanks. Write in detail about all. I have no time to spare for the ideal gossip. Try to give up ceremonials. They are not meant for sannyasins, and one must work only so long as one does not attend to illuminations. I have nothing to do with sectarianism or party forming and playing the frog in the well. Whatever else I may do, it is impossible to preach the Catholic ideas of Ramakrishna Paramhans and form sect at the same time. Only one kind of work I understand, and that is doing good to the others. All else is doing evil. I therefore pros- prostrate myself before the Lord Buddha. I am a Vedantist, Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. In my God, I secretly find any other God than the majestic form of my own self. By the word incarnation are meant those who have attained that Brahmanhood is other words, the Jiva Muktas, those who have realized this freedom in this very life. I do not find any speciality in incarnations. All beings from Brahma down to the clump of grass will attain to liberation in life in course of time, and our duty lies in helping all to reach that state. This help is called as religion, the rest is irreligion. This help is work, the rest is evil doing. I see nothing else. Other kinds of work, for example the vaidika or the tantrika, may produce results, but resorting to them is simply waste of time. For that purity, which is the goal of the work, is realizable only through doing good to others, through works such as sacrifices, etc. One may get enjoyment, but it is impossible to have purity of soul. Everything exists already in the self of all beings. He who asserts he is free shall be free. He who says he is bound, bound he shall remain. To me, the thought of oneself as low and humble is a sin and ignorance. This Atman is not to be attained by one who is weak. If you say Brahman is, existence will be the result. If you say Brahman is not non existent, it shall verily become. He who always thinks of himself as weak will never become strong, but he who knows himself to be a lion rushes out from the world, smashes as a lion from its cages. Another point, it was no new truth that Ramakrishna Paramhans came to preach, though his advent brought the old truth to light. In other words, he was the embodiment of all the past religious thoughts of India. He, his life alone made me understand what the Shastras really meant and the whole plan and scope of the old Shastras. Missionaries, missionaries and others could not do much against me in this country. Through the Lord, through the Lord's grace, the people here, like me, greatly and are not to be tricked by the opinion of any particular classes. They appreciate my ideas in the manner my own countrymen could not or cannot, and are not selfish. I mean, when it comes to the practical work, they will give up jealousy and all those ideas of self sufficiency, then all of them agree and act under the direction of a capable man. That is what makes them so great. But then they are nation of mammon worshippers. Money comes before everything. People of our country are very liberal in pecuniary matters, but not so much these people. Every home has a miser. It is almost a religion here, but they fall into the clutches of the priest when they do something bad, and they then buy their passage to heaven with money. These things are same in every country, priestcraft. I can say nothing as to whether I shall go back to India and when. There also I shall have to lead a wandering life as I do here. But there thousands of people listen to me and under my lecture, and these thousands are benefited. But can you say the same thing about India? I am perfectly at one with the Sarada is doing. A thousand thanks to him. In Madras and Bombay, I have lots of men who are after my heart. They are learned and understand everything. Moreover, they are kind hearted and can therefore appreciate the philanthropy spirit. I have printed neither books nor anything of the kind. I I simply go on lecturing tours. When I take a retrospective view of my past life, I feel no remorse. From country to country, I have traveled, teaching something, however little, to people, and in exchange for that, have partaken of their slices of bread. If I had found I had done no work but simply supported myself by imposing upon people, I would have committed suicide today. Why do those who think themselves unfit to teach their fellow beings wear the teacher's garb and earn their bread by cheating them? Is not that a deadly sin? Yours, Vivekananda. 70. 19th West 38, New York, 8th July 1895. Alberta. Dear Alberta, I am sure you are engrossed in your musical studies now. Hope you have found out all about the scales by this time. I will be so happy to take a lesson on the scales from you next time we meet. We had such jolly good time up there at Percy with Mr. Legate. Is not he a saint? Hollister is also enjoying Germany greatly, I'm sure, and I hope none of you have injured your tongues in trying to pronounce German words, especially those beginning with skates, tins, and other sweet things. I read your letters to your mother from on board. From on board. Most possibly, I am going over to Europe next September. I have never been to Europe yet. I will not be very much different from. It will be not very much different from USA after all, and I am already well drilled in manners and customs of this country. We had a good deal of rowing to at Percy and I learned a point or two in rowing. Aunt Jojo had to pay for her sweetness for the flies and mosquitoes would not leave her for a moment. They rather gave me a wide berth, and I think because they were very orthodox Sabbatarian flies and could not touch a Hetner. Again, I think I used to sing a good deal at Percy, and that must have frightened them away. We had such fine birch trees. I got up an idea of making books out of the bark, as was used to be done in the ancient times of our country, and wrote Sanskrit verses for your mothers and aunt. I'm sure, Alberta, you are going to be tremendously learned lady very soon. With love and blessings for both of you. Ever your affectionate Swami Vivekananda. 71. Salutation to Bhagavan Ramakrishna, 1895. Dear Rakhal, I have now got lot of newspapers, etc. And you need not send any more. Let the movement now confine itself to India. It is not much use getting up a sensation every day, but avail yourself of this tour that is refi all over the country and scatter yourself in all quarters. In other words, try to start branches at different places. Let it not be an empty sound merely. You must join the madrasis and start associations, etc., at different places. What about the magazines which I heard was going to be started? Why are you nervous about conducting it? Come, do something heroic, brother. What if you do not attend Mukti? What if you suffer damnation a few times? Is the saying untrue? There are some saints who, full of holiness in thought, word, deed, and please the whole world by their numerous beneficent acts, and who develop their own hearts by magnifying an atom of virtues in others, as if it were as great as mountains. What if you don't get mukti? What childish prattle, Lord! They say even the venom of a snake loses its power by firm denying. Is not it true? What poor humility is this to say, I know nothing, I am nothing? This is pseudo renunciation. This is pseudo renunciation and mock modesty. I tell you, of with such a self abasing spirit, if I do not know, who on earth does? What have you been doing so long? If you know, plead ignorance. These are the words of an atheist. The humility of the vagabond stretch. We can do everything and will do everything. He who is fortunate enough will heroically join us, letting the worthless mew like cat from their corners. A saint writes well, you have had enough of blazoning. Now come back home. I would have I would have called him a man if he could build a house and call me. 10 years experience of such things 10 years experience of such things has made me wiser. I am no more to be du- duped by words. Let him who has courage in his mind and love in his heart come with me. I want none else. Through Mother's grace, single handed, I am worth 100,000 now and will be worth 2 million. There is no certainty about my going back to India. I shall have to lead a wandering life there also, as I am doing here. But here, one lives in the company of scholars, and there one must live among fools. There is difference as of the poles. People of this country organize and work, while our undertaking all come to dust, clashing against laziness, miscall, renunciation, and jealousy, etc. Writes me big letters now and then. Half of Writes me big letters now and then, half of which I cannot decipher, which is blessing to me. For a great part of the news is of the following description, that in such and such a place, such and such a man was speaking ill of me, and that he been unable to bear the same, had a quarrel with him, and so forth. Many thanks for his kind defense of me. But what seriously hindered hinders me from listening to what particular person may be saying about me is time is short, but obstacles are many. An organized society is wanted. Let Shashi look to the household management. Sanyal take charge of money matters and marketing, and Sharath act as a secretary that is carry on correspondence, etc. Make a permanent center. It is no use making random efforts as you are doing now. Do you see my point? I have quite a heap of newspapers. Now I want you to do something. If you can build a moat, I shall say you are heroes. Otherwise, you are nothing. Consult the Madras people when you work. They have a great capacity for work. Celebrate this year's Sri Ramakrishna festival with such accolade as to make it a record. The less the feeding propagandas is, the better. It is enough if you distribute prasad in earthy cups to the devotees standing in rows. I am going to write a very short sketch of Sri Ramakrishna's life in English, which I shall send you. Have it printed and translated into Bengali and sell it at the festival. People do not read books that are distributed free. Fix some nominal price. Search have the festival done with a great pomp. You must have the you must have an all-sided intellect to do in to do efficient work in and in any town or village you may visit. Start an association wherever you find a number of people revering Sri Ramakrishna. What you travel? Have you traveled through through so many villages, all for nothing? We must slowly absorb the Hari Sabha and such other association. Well, I cannot tell you all. If I could but get another demon like me, the Lord will supply me everything in time. If one has got power, one must manifest it in action. Of with your ideas of mukti and bhakti, there is only one way in the world. The good lives for another alone. The wise man should sacrifice himself for others. I can sure I can secure my own I can secure my own good only by doing you good. There is no other way, none whatsoever. You are God, I am God, and man is God. It is the God manifestation, manifested through humanity, who is doing everything in this world. Is there a different God sitting high up somewhere to work, therefore?